turn them on.
Hold on.
Okay.
You ready now?
Yep.
Now we'll welcome everybody out. We have a special meeting tonight. We're starting a little bit early to work on this 825 home-based business code. It's been eating up some time, so we'll start right at the top. Public comment for concerning any issue not on the agenda. Is there any public comment? Everybody's here for an agenda item? Awesome. Okay. You want to go out of order?
Sure.
Okay, where do you want to start? You want to start at 825?
Yeah, 820.
Well, I think we have people here that are here for item 1.
For what?
For
The zone
item
change?
2.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Which one do you want to do?
Well, I don't care, I just think if we have people here that want to talk about the zone change, we ought to do that instead of doing 825.
I thought we started at 6, so we covered it 25.
That's not what the agenda says.
We talk about zone change. We are missing a couple of, Pam and Gary said they won't make it till 7, so if you want them here for that discussion, then we probably need to push it back. If
Let's have it.
Yeah.
So back to 825? Is that where we want to go? Mission? Good luck.
Hey, Rick. On my stuff, I don't care if you guys don't talk about my stuff or not tonight. 'Cause I need to talk with UDOT some more and find out what I can do and not do with them. So I'm not looking for any recommendations tonight at this point. So I can save everybody some time on that, unless you guys had something specific you wanted to cover.
Well, we got to get to a recommendation, so either way, we will talk about it tonight, I'm sure, but we'll start with the 825 for the home occupation, and we'll talk about that, because we got to get to a recommendation to give to the council,
Okay.
because they're the ones that make the decision on that, so.
All right.
Anything else? Okay, did everybody have a chance to look over what Brendan given us? I didn't get any emails with suggestions for changes on that document. Brent, you got anything else that you've looked at that, do you want to go through it line by line?
We can.
Yeah. Is that, I know we got pressed for time.
Wait a minute, let's try a long shot.
Okay,
You want a copy, Tom?
I tried to print one out, and I was out of ink, so yes, I would very much.
You have
never
an
run out of
extra
ink when
copy?
you're not printing.
Can I-
Now, this is the same one that got emailed, wasn't it, Brent?
We've been doing this a long time. I
Yes.
don't know.
I'm pretty sure this is the same one that got emailed last month. Okay,
I think,
this may go down in flames, Eric.
Okay,
I move that we adopt this
I do have.
do you have that one?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
ordinance.
have this one too.
You got one?
I'm gonna have to write on another
Anybody else
one.
want one?
I'm gonna have to write on another one here, because, okay, Tom, are you making a motion?
I am.
Okay, go ahead.
I move that we adopt this ordinance as it is printed in this form. As it was emailed out to everyone, I reviewed it, and I feel like that it has merit to it as it stands.
Okay, I have a motion. Is there a second on that motion?
I second that.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Discussion on the motion. Any discussion? I had a bunch of red lines on it, so,
So let's have your discussion.
well, that's just for discussion. I have a motion on the table, so. There was just some things that I saw in there that I thought maybe would be, that we'd want to review, but I'd really like to see what the planning commission comes up with. I'll be able to really did anybody see anything in there? That, with no red flags, you all liked it?
I liked it.
Okay, yeah, I think it's closer than anything we've had. I think that there are some, items that the new law will actually remove some of this wording in this.
I take that back, Eric. We talked about one change last month. That's approval period, and at the bottom, we talked about zoning changes, and I think what we said last time was we changed that to use changes. We eliminate the word zoning.
Use?
Yes, in favor of the word use.
Whereabouts are you?
8.25.02, approval period.
First page.
Yeah.
So you got it.
What he was trying to say here is that,
Doesn't
Can't
change
zone
zoning,
somebody
it
out.
changes use.
I have a copy of that.
does that make sense?
Yeah, I got it.
There's a copy here. It's going around here.
I didn't get there quick enough.
You're good.
So that if we changed the zoning, it would not affect somebody who's already.
I think the only word needed to be changed in that, we talked about this last month, and I think it is in
So it's-
last month's minutes. The very last sentence, when the use is allowed to lapse by the property owner, the use may change. The
How about allowed use?
The
or-
existing use, or, yeah, the allowed use, that's fine. I don't remember exactly the wording we put into that
Or
last.
accepted use, or
No, that would be
allowed use.
allowed use, yes.
Sounded good.
And I think that's the only change that I saw that it needed. The rest of it I thought was fine. We may have to look back to last month's video or minutes, whatever, to get that wording, but I know that we talked about it last month.
Well, it might be in direct conflict to what our our other code says, because it gives a timetable on how long it has to lapse before it's not a continued use. So this really doesn't throw a timetable on it, just if it's lapsed.
Basically, what that's saying is that
But it does say can change. Use
if,
can
if,
change.
if you let it expire, all bets are off, you gotta start over again. Isn't that what the intent is?
Agreed, that's what we.
So that will talk to everybody that's licensed in the town at this point, whether legal or not? Is that what this is, is that what your take on that?
I don't think so. I think this is only for those that are complying with the law. If they have a current home occupation license, if they do not have a home occupation license, then this doesn't apply to them because they don't have an existing use.
Right,
That's the way I would read that.
okay, so we're just going with use on that, so changing zoning to use,
Allowed use.
where the zoning
The
is,
allowed use can change. Stick with zoning.
okay,
Replace the word zoning with two words, allowed use.
okay.
Allowed use by down?
No, that's
No.
just the allowed use that you're not, the permit fee. So people that get a license, yes, well.
Okay, and anything else on there? Okay, if not, we'll be ready for a vote on it, send it to council. Okay? Have a motion and a second, so does the second still stand
Yes.
with that change? Okay. Any more discussion? Okay, call for the vote, all in favor? 2? 3?
Go with that, yeah.
Okay, 3. Motion fails. More discussion?
Give me just a minute.
Okay,
Just a sec.
you bet. You bet. Is there something else there that stands? Tom, did you, when you looked at that, did you see everything that is the uses in the town? And I know there's been some talk about what would be allowed, that is currently allowed.
Not sure if I understand your question.
We have some uses in the town that we thought maybe by passing this new ordinance would be, people would be in violation. Did you go through and kind of look at that?
I did not look at every single use in the town. Give me an example of what might fall into that category.
We had some trucking companies that we thought might be in violation of this new ordinance. But are you saying that that use is going to be allowed? Because I know Commissioner Binkert had I shouldn't say grave issues, but she had issues with driving people out of business that was already been here. And you're welcome to talk to that. Okay. I know we was close with the motion before, and that was your concern. Huh?
Yeah.
Can't they be grandfathered in?
Well, it's hard, if it was a legal use at one time, they could be grandfathered in.
But it's never.
If they're in violation right now, Diane, you can't just hand them the blank check. They would have to have an existing home occupation license. And then we would say, well, it's been traditional for this, or it's been leading up to this, they've done it the right way. But if somebody's there just doing business without having it, you can't just hand them a blank check. You've got to cover
I
the
think
legality of it.
82503 kind of speaks to that, the application process. Like, number one, you won't disturb your neighbors. And so if somebody's already running, some of the businesses already that have more property, we've spoken to that before, they have more room, like you have room in your backyard to put that monster of a trailer. And it's your backyard, it's not parked across your neighbor's driveway, and there shouldn't be any reason why anybody should have a grief for that. You know what I mean? But in this way, it kind of allows for the complaint driven that we were doing before, and it allows for auxiliary buildings. So instead of having pallets of junk out, product, should we call it that? Pallets of product for your business out in everybody's view and blowing around everywhere, you can have an auxiliary building and have that put away. Because to me, the ideal home occupation business would be kind of like Brent's, where nobody knows he's running it.
I don't know if I'd take it that.
Well, but, you don't.
Yeah, we
drive
all
by
get
your
them on
place to go
secondary
there.
roads.
Yeah.
So it's kind of that's kind of what I'm looking for, is if we're going to allow this, and it sounds like our town wants to allow this in our town, it ought to not create property value issues and traffic issues and noise and dust issues. I mean, if I put up a big old barn and put hay and horses in it, that wouldn't be any different than somebody putting up a big old barn and parking, pallets of wire. Because from the outside, it just looks like a store. So I think that's why I like this idea of an application where each license is going to be considered on its own merits. And in the other page here, 82506 with the standards, it does say things like it's incidental and secondary to the use of the dwelling. It limits the signs, it limits how much of your house can be dedicated as business. That you're not building a business in the town, you're using your home and auxiliary buildings as part of your business. So that's what I liked about this.
That's why I made the motion, is going through this over the course of, from last meeting till now, I think it meets pretty much everything that we've been looking for. I don't see that this precludes people who are trying to be legal. And if you come down to it, where it talks about renewals, okay, anybody that's operating a business in the town right now should be with a home occupation, and if they're not, then let's get them one, and if they're in an existing business, maybe we could lean towards the renewal side on that. That's my way of looking at it. I don't see how this, well, I mean, I don't see everything either, but I don't see how this would impinge upon people that are in business and that we would be regulating out of business. Now, if I've missed it, please inform me.
It talks about general requirements, it's on this last page. Home occupation, it's under A, an RA5, comma, M, and a P160 zone. What is an M zone?
Mountain zone.
Tell me about a mountain zone. I don't even know what I'm talking about.
The mountain zone is, it's like the preservation 160, only mountain zone is one step further. So it's, what it's gonna be is on some slopes that can't be developed, which we do have on the preservation zone. Anything over 30%, is that right, Ryan?
Yes.
Okay, anything over 30% can't be developed.
So we're saying that
Is
could
that
be.
the zone that has given Oakleberry problems?
No, that's the
That's
P160.
P160 down on the south.
Okay.
So we have another thing called a mountain zone that you could.
How long have we had that?
Oh, it was the counties, we just adopted what the county had.
Wow,
2006.
Yeah,
wake up.
Yeah, this whole area, this whole section here was just plagiarized off the original.
so a lot of that can't be developed, but it can be considered in their acreage. So we've been talking about the Welch property, and there's quite a bit of that property that's well over 30%. And so we just got asked by, and I have the guy's name here somewhere, but the realtor wants to break that up into 1 acre lots. Well, the actual developable lot is in the bottom, side of that hill's not developable, so there's a lot of acreage there, but I think 17 acres is what's developable.
I just noticed one other conflict here on G, Brent. Not more than equivalent of 15%, parentheses 25%. Is that a typo?
That's a typo.
What should that be? What do you want that?
25%.
25? Okay.
And we also need to correct that to Daniel Town. On C.
Yeah, that's right.
So which part gives you credit, Kim?
Pardon me?
Which part gives you credit? Or do you just not like it at all?
No, I think it's a great place to start. We've been kicking this around, it's a great place to start.
We're just motioning to send this to the town, right?
Right,
To the town council.
we're saying it's ready to be adopted,
We're saying we're done tinkering.
right?
The town council can either say yay or nay on
Yeah,
Or send it
and make some changes.
it, okay?
So I have off hours on number 1 on page 2, underlined. Vehicles left running, coming and going during off hours. What is defined as the off hours? Who's making the definition?
What is it, there a thing someplace in our code that says that we have like a quiet time?
There is in the commercial zone, there is not in the other zones.
What is it in the other zones?
There isn't one.
What is it?
We could strike that whole entire sentence and not lose anything. That's just an example.
On number 8, it says the applicants are required to provide daily business hours, so maybe it would be past that.
Yeah, if
That's it.
per application?
Yeah, so it'd be their off hours.
So we can leave that, but per application?
Yeah.
Per application?
Yeah.
Every applicant's gonna have to establish
Right.
their business
And
hours.
then if that changes, they need
What
to
number is that?
come back and,
On 1, we're gonna not just put off hours, off hours per application. Because on 8, it says they have to provide daily business hours.
And so the clarification on the top of that on application was only when it was new, right? Have that written in red,
Correct.
only when it's new is when they'll come, okay. No complaints, okay.
On 10, I have, any home occupation shall not restrict. I've got that circled in red. Were we doing something with that?
Which one was it?
10?
10, under the application. Any
Yeah,
home
and I-
occupation shall not restrict the residential traffic.
And we talked about that, and we was talking impact, substantially impact versus,
Or negatively impact, or
well, because we know darn well that it's gonna, you
it's gonna
know,
make a difference.
it's gonna affect it.
Yeah,
Right, so,
so we were looking for words there too.
yeah.
I think that's fine the way it reads.
So like, let's take one example that we just had with a home occupation for daycare. And there was some concern of a neighbor that they were dropping kids off in the front
Right.
and restricting their access to their driveway.
Yeah.
Would that qualify?
If it was restricting, we'd tell them like we told those folks that they have to pull in to drop them off instead of staying out in the street.
Yeah, I don't think we told them that, but
What did we tell them? That's what I remember. is-
I remember that was the thought, and then,
They said that they had parking around behind, and
yeah,
they had parking out in front, and then they would, at that point, require them to go in off of the street to do that.
yeah, well, I think what was brought up is the people back and back out
Yeah,
was a bigger safety hazard than dropping off on the
and
road.
so they said they would allow them to, or, require them to turn around on the property.
Yeah, and I don't think we placed that requirement on that license,
Okay.
just for the safety fact that if somebody gets backed over and the town made them back out, we might assume some liability there. So there's one right there that you could definitely say is restricting traffic during drop-off and pickup times.
I think the way that's written, that gives us the power to tell them, no, it's gonna restrict traffic, you can't do it that way. That this is the way you need to do it, or whatever other form it would take. I think the restricting traffic is ideal wording.
But I guess what I'm saying is what's restricting to them may not be restricting to the town.
Right,
So,
becomes open to interpretation.
right,
But we're the town and we're interpreting it, so our interpretation stands.
no,
Town council,
that's why they have judges.
yeah.
His interpretation stands unless you.
How would you change that, Aaron?
I would still say substantial. That gives you a chance to make that interpretation, that you've looked at it, it's been reasonably debated, and it's not a substantial restriction.
Okay.
Substantially.
So that any home
So
occupation
shall
shall
not
not.
substantially restrict residential traffic?
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
That's what I would, and that's defendable, I believe.
Okay.
I'm good with that. I'm good for that.
So with my lot, I'm a little less than 4, am I still R5?
Yes, you're still R5. Yeah, we have 1 acre parcels that are in the RA5. It's just when they took the RA1 out, the county did, they just said, this area is RA5. And so you are, like I am, on my property, you're a continued use. It was legally created under the old code. And so as that zone changes, you can continue to do what you're doing based on, it was legal at the time it was created. And we haven't stopped for longer than a year. So that's the criteria that keeps that rolling. I have, and this is just, I just went through number 9, application agreement. And I have under the second sentence, application uses, I'd like to change uses to conditions. Because if we set a condition on a license,
Okay,
Instead
so
of
read how you
uses,
would say it.
conditions?
yeah, if we say that,
Conditions instead of uses.
because if we set a condition, yeah, this can happen, but this condition has to be there. Like we did for, it was a different, for the dog kennel, we said so many dogs can be there. And so it was a condition of their conditional
So you would say,
license.
and abide by the approved application conditions
Yeah,
rather than uses.
right.
Okay.
If that's, everybody likes that?
That's fine.
Sorry, I've got I've got June's, I've got May, I've got April. I'm
Yeah.
trying to compile all my notes.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing.
Okay, so, down to the bottom on page 3. So 82505, home occupation business permit, business license location may be inspected prior to renewal. It needs to say that it can be inspected at any time, because the town reserves the right to inspect that. If we get a complaint, we need to be able to go in right then and do that inspection.
So which words are you gonna use? You're gonna use can be or may be?
May be inspected, I put at any time,
Throw out prior to renewal and put at any time.
okay?
Is that what you want?
At
Yep.
any time to assure compliance.
Right.
All right.
But you've got that under the heading of biannual renewal and review of business licenses.
That's okay.
So we can review the business license at any time?
Well, if I get a complaint,
Especially with a complaint.
I need to be able to, at any time, go out and inspect and then, of course, based on those findings, they'll be reviewed by the town council for any action, like, the McLeans just had, we had to get right on that and see what. And there wasn't a business license there, but,
Yeah, what do you do in that situation?
yeah. Yeah, they just complied, so it was good. Because they just had some people staying with them.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
That's tough.
that's tough, yeah. Yeah, that's tough.
Very glad you showed up.
That's what I asked him. Did you complain? I've been complained on, and I'm pretty sure it was my wife. But the officer is good, he won't tell you.
Yeah.
Okay, we had the review according to 82503, so this is the top of the back page on the 517. Let me get to that on the new one. Is it the same? Okay. I have a number 4 out there on this review. The reason I have a number 4 on there is because it can be a tie. So
Oh,
if we have a board that's
Has to be
not an
5.
even number,
Okay.
then it likely won't end up in a tie.
How about letting the mayor decide that in lieu of a tie?
It'd be like me as the chairman, that's when I get a vote, when
Yep.
there's a tie.
That would work.
We could do that, but we'd probably have to spell that out in there in case of a tie. Mayor will be the deciding, and maybe he doesn't want to.
We don't care.
That's true. If he doesn't read it, he'll never find it, huh?
that's right. Until
Hey,
somebody
you won't know till
says.
there's a complaint.
That's good.
You're the mayor, duly sworn. It's in
That's
your,
right.
it's in your job description.
That's right.
Okay, so we probably need to put that sentence in the result of a tie, the mayor shall
Yeah, I
cast the
think that's,
deciding vote.
to me, that's an easier solution than trying to find
Yeah.
another person.
That's good.
I mean, we're having trouble filling 2 places on this board, so.
Well, we got some business owners here. You guys up for sitting on a review panel? Should we need one on the review?
Oh, yeah,
Anonymous.
I'll do that.
Yeah, it says anonymous.
So you're saying.
Yeah, but 2 of which will
This
be
town.
occupation permit holders.
So you're saying that we really don't need to have the mayor review, we take it to a 5 because we have availability to those people?
If we have 5 members, it would be separate, it would be a citizen review committee, and it wouldn't necessarily entail people of the town, employed by the
Are you
town.
thinking
Trying to
kind of
keep
get,
those numbers.
if you had 3 business owners though against?
Yeah, no,
Two
you-
citizens or
Well, I
vice
think-
versa, I
I think
think
the
that's a
mayor's got
problem.
I think the business owners are gonna be as hard as anybody, because we don't want anybody screwing it up.
But there still might be the perception that there was.
That's true.
Well, the last sentence in here says the review conclusions will be provided to the mayor to determine a resolution. So all they're making is a
So
recommendation.
if it's a tie, the mayor's determining that anyway.
Yeah.
Right, we're okay.
Okay.
And if they send, half
So-
of us liked it, half of us didn't, yeah, it's
Either way, they send it through.
yours,
And it's still the mayor's decision then.
regardless.
So I guess what that does then is how do they run this review committee? Who's gonna chair that? Who's gonna head that? Who's
Yeah,
gonna,
good point.
they meeting at the
I don't think it
hub?
necessarily has to
Yeah.
be the same people every time either, it can be whoever you can get,
Yeah,
so.
but who's gonna run the meeting? Who's gonna, how's it,
Whoever
how's
the
this
manager is.
gonna? What?
Planning director? Yes.
You do it on a planning commission, right? And just have a special
Well, it says
thing at the end or?
4 anonymous volunteer citizens appointed at the request of the mayor.
So it'll be with, well, if it follows the other suit, it will be 4 appointed by the mayor with the advice and consent of the council.
Okay.
Because they always have that ability to not let the mayor stack it, so. Not saying our mayor would, but some mayors would.
Some mayors will.
That's right. Okay,
With the advice,
with the advice and consent of the council.
Just the mayor. Yeah.
And that will be in line with our other code. Super. Okay, that's all I had redlined, so if,
I have something that may be getting left out.
okay,
On the back page, D, where it talks about vehicles. Says vehicles comparable to personal vehicles stored or parked in Danielstown will be allowed. Back when we approved the first 8.25, you struck out, commercial vehicles may be parked on the property, given that you were gonna add it in somewhere in this next section, and it's not added in.
okay,
It's not specifically spelled out as commercial vehicle.
yeah,
I think when he discussed this, he discussed like Jason having a personal semi.
we were talking about
But
guys
that's not
who
clear
drove
in there.
who drove their semi truck home and parked, I mean, we've got that in town,
yeah.
several places.
But anywhere is it written that it's allowed? I guess if we're just a little worried about that not being understood that way.
Yeah, and I think it was brought up that some of that size vehicles for personal use even in.
Yeah, we've got a couple of those.
Some people drive dump trucks.
If I had one, I'd drive it, if I could afford the fuel. So you're you're thinking of putting commercial vehicles comparable to personal vehicles, or?
Or even that there's another appendage added in, another thing like under I or something that says that a home occupation business is allowed to have one commercial vehicle on their property. Because that was in there originally to start with.
I can't remember what the original one said.
I kind of like the idea of leaving it alone,
When
because
we
it
get our
gives the
license,
town
that's
some options
what
and
we
some
want.
leeway, and we can build on it later.
Yeah, the other code did say one commercial vehicle.
The original one did.
And they tinkered with
But it's-
size and
but
what
it-
was commercial.
yeah, it
And
said
that
1
said
ton
semi.
rated.
It was like
And
panel trucks and things like that. It never got big enough for a semi.
As soon as you paint a
The
sign,
original code.
as soon as you
No, it
paint a
just says
sign on a
commercial
pickup, that's a
vehicle.
commercial vehicle too.
Yeah, exactly.
So commercial really is too broad a brush to paint with, I think.
My thoughts was this was all gonna be taken care of when you guys do the personal review. In other words, I was thinking that we would ask for photos of the type of vehicles that they're gonna have, and what they're gonna have. They're gonna-
Well, let's put that in there, Brent.
What?
Other types of vehicles are subject to approval by the
Well,
Town-
that's
town
in
council?
here. That's the application which says they're gonna have
I think we
to
did,
show
yeah.
what they did.
That's already. in
What they're
there.
planning
What
on
section
doing
is
and
it
if
in?
it's useful.
Application.
I don't remember seeing that specifically. 8?
Yeah, 82503 application, 8.
Well, then I think we're good.
So that would be a condition of that license. So every time we'll put that.
That way-
Still leaves it off for
that way
open
you
to
know.
interpretation.
No, I think
It does.
it's too open.
It,
Well, the problem is, I don't think any of us want to put down, you can park a semi at your house.
But it-
Because then,
but it was limited before with the number
One.
one. So what I'm saying is, you still limit it, but you make sure it's very clear, so that people like Tom Ingles, like us, we can have a semi-truck parked in the house.
It was in the original county code that Daniels adopted. And it specifically said one commercial vehicle may be parked.
And we were told unequivocally that we would not lose that. And so that's my concern, is when you leave it open to interpretation, then you lose it.
So the 825, I believe that was already limited to 1 ton.
yeah,
That commercial vehicle was limited to 1 ton.
Can we
Would it
pull
take
that?
into account, like, next door neighbors instead of a neighbor a mile down the road? Would the business application take that into account? Kind of get rid of the guy down the road's opinion, because honestly, we have
Yeah,
300 county
it's-
trucks that go up and down that road every day, so, I mean, we have plenty of semis.
Yeah, and
So
we
I think
really-
it should be more, you know, me, in their situation, me, our close neighbors that
Right, and
get a
that,
good opinion.
and that's why we let it be complaint driven, because the people around you are the ones that are gonna complain. And so that's, but we've had complaints on Tom Ingles' truck parked on the road. There was some down the other way that was parked out on the road. And so when I go out, I just say, you need to get it on your property. Because, I mean, the towns, we're not in the business of telling really. If you're parking it on your property, it's not a traffic hazard, it's not on town property. And so that's, so far, that's sufficed to what we've had. Now, Tom had one over in his neighborhood that was a trucking company that they did have some issues with.
Unbelievable issues.
So,
I could hear that in my foot.
so we've had both.
Well, and they worked on outsiders' trucks at 3 in the morning as well. It was,
well, they were dumping all kinds of waste and things
Yeah.
on the ground.
yeah, it was incredible.
Okay, so looking at the original code, 82506, home occupation standards, it's D. Under general requirements, D, 1 commercial vehicle not exceeding 1 ton rated capacity may be allowed.
So that's the original code from the county.
1 ton, is that?
Yeah,
So when we were given a
That's a
business
limit.
license and told them we had a
Yeah, but
truck,
that's-
then it
that's
was
what the
not
code
in compliance,
said.
or that was like an exclusion grant?
Well, I think you guys were kind of in this, it's your personal vehicle, because it's your business one, but
Well,
you
it
own
was.
it.
Yeah,
And so I think this is where it becomes, you know, if somebody else is driving truck for somebody and all of a sudden they're parking these trucks there's an issue. I mean, I think it was brought up, if Mark drove it home instead of walking. I think somebody made that comment, well,
And
yeah,
you're
he's
not
gonna drive it
parking-
home, because
you're not
that's his
parking
ride
on the
home.
neighbor's driveway, and you're not,
90% of the time, his truck parked there in his shop anyways, you don't even know his truck's there.
You can't tell.
You hear him pull out in the morning and he pulls out and he shifts gears slowly and quietly.
I'm seeing Tom does the same thing, he idles down that road
Tom
and
goes
it's,
super slow.
yeah, you know, he's just like, it's just super, and Chuck Schinderling, same thing. You just don't hear them trucks go down the road because they're just idling out of town.
which is as it should be and is much appreciated.
Well, yeah, they don't want the
Oh, it's
complaints, they
very
don't want to do that.
Yeah, no.
The county
So
does not
this-
do that.
No, the county doesn't do that.
No, no.
So this, if we put this in, that would actually be a detriment to anybody that's got a semi. So you're better off with it out.
I think you should leave it open and leave it the way it reads now at D.
You're better off.
Because
See, and I think the reason that was in there, and this is just my opinion, is because that was designed for home occupation, for the little flower shops, and now we're looking at a delivery truck to go make those deliveries with, so you could have up to a 1 ton. And this same thing was brought up with, I forget the pest control, right, Rocky Mountain Pest. That some of the trucks and chemicals that was over there wouldn't be in compliance with home occupation. So I know we had some complaints also down around the mayor's neighborhood about chemicals being stored. And some,
Good.
yeah, I don't, they were barrels in the garage and he thought there was chemicals in there. And we assured them that we was not going to anybody's garage to see what they had in there. So That's the law enforcement still, not ours.
Yeah. The Lonnie and the chemicals out from
So that was a complaint we did fill, but we didn't react to that.
How about if we say, commercial vehicle, okay, this says, vehicles comparable to personal vehicles will be allowed. How about if we say, commercial vehicles may be allowed subject to approval of the commission? Would that get close to what you're after? Is that,
I see that being you let his truck, you won't let mine.
well, we're not able to do that. If we do let that truck, we do have to let others.
I'd say leave it alone and let's see what comes at us.
What's your feeling, Mark? You brought it up.
I mean, this doesn't
I'm
restrict.
just curious, can you show me the,
Yeah, it's right here.
Yeah, and that's what I remember, that it did have a
Yeah, it's right there.
1 ton. But again, I think that was for delivery trucks, like
I agree.
the flower shops, and, because that makes sense, why it would say
You
that.
have one, the truck you ain't drive for your business.
And this is the car we haven't tinkered on.
Yeah.
Left it clean. so
Yeah,
it's
there's really no reason to buy anything less than one.
Any reason less.
Yeah,
Hell, I don't want to get beat to death driving down the road. Gotta have a.
you're always loaded, it don't matter.
I mean, I think we're biting off
If the
a,
truck is loaded, that's fine.
That's what I
Driver's
meant, that's what I
loaded,
meant.
that's a problem.
I think we're biting
Seal
off a huge
interpretation.
problem too, to try to regulate these others that have been here out of the town. I don't think that's gonna happen. I think it's gonna be a huge fight. I think that we need to be open, like the McAllisters are saying, that, okay, this is traditionally what we've done, and if they're not causing a problem, we really shouldn't use the ordinance to get rid of them.
Absolutely not.
Right,
But at the same time, like you say, you just hate to put in there, well, yeah, you can have a semi-truck at your house. I think, you know, that's a really, really razor blade edge to walk.
right.
I don't know how to,
Yeah, it is, and like I've told you before, when I go out on a complaint, I very rarely will look at this code. What I'm after is nuisance.
and I think that's where it needs to be.
And so that's, because, I mean, the state has a nuisance ordinance. If yours isn't strong enough, the state takes over, so. That's usually that has the teeth in it, but to regulate the business licenses, this is absolutely within the town.
And this, on the application portion, number 1, says your home occupation will not alter the residential character of the premise or unreasonably disturb the peace and quiet of the neighborhood. So it's not really the question of the truck parking in the neighborhood. I mean, when they park there, they're not any more invasive than, you know, a couple of really noisy sheep. So,
Yeah,
but the
I get
idea
more
that,
noise from the semis going down the stinking highway.
well, I think Tom's brought up that very fact, that it's the same motor that's in the tractor
yeah, so,
that I fire up in Bell Hayward.
so it's the idea that if
2 o'clock
if
in
you're
the
not
morning.
bugging your neighbor, then nobody's gonna say anything. But if we have somebody who's being a real pain, we have a code and we can say, hey,
The commission.
yeah.
There are people that will just complain. I can tell you, there's people that will complain.
Well, let's say valid.
They just don't like
That's
your
what I'm worried
dog.
about, the mile down the road guy that's mad because you guys didn't approve him, so they're gonna just drive around and
Well,
look for
that will
complaints.
happen.
So, and I assume that's what you have your committee for,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
The
What's that?
committee.
The 4-person committee, that's what that's for.
Right, that's what
Is
that's
for
for, is to,
a complaint
is
that's.
to look at the neighborhood, look at everybody and listen to everybody
Realistic.
and find out
And the mayor
what's
and the
really
council.
going on.
So it's,
What do you think at this point, Mark?
We haven't changed anything then?
Not at this point. I mean,
Okay.
we can write whatever we decide.
It's his motion.
Yeah.
Well, it's comparable and there's other trucks allowed. We still,
Well, the
As long as, you know, as long as it's kind of allowed, I mean, as long as I can still bring one of my, I consider it my work truck and bring it home and park it there, I'm fine, as long as that'll happen, but I'm worried that city council's gonna change, the planning department's gonna change, mayor's gonna change, and they're gonna see this totally different than what we've talked about.
And if that happens, they'll change the code
Can't
and
help
we'll
you
be
there.
out anyway.
That's true.
just the way it works.
Yeah.
What was that?
We can't help you on that issue because that's just the way it works.
That's what we
I
do,
mean,
the
that's
same thing
really-
we're doing right now.
That's
You
why you run
know,
for mayor.
That's how fragile the town is, to where if we have a council change, we can go to 1 acre lots, we can go to quarter acre lots, we could go to a $20 million sewer system.
Okay.
Now you've really scared me.
Now that we're all friendly.
Well, who wants to run for mayor?
I think we just saw who wants to run for mayor. Nobody signed up. No.
Chip did.
Chip, yeah, nobody signed up to run against
He's a
him.
brave man.
Don't think I'd have to twist his arm.
Proud of him.
He twisted mine back. Okay, so we have a motion. Second still stand with those changes?
Yes.
Okay, any more discussion?
We are talking about the changes you just made.
Just made.
Does he need to change the motion to include the changes that we just made?
That's why I asked him if his motion still stands with the changes we made.
The motion still stands with the addition of the changes we have just talked about.
Okay? You got all those?
I got one.
Okay. Okay, any more discussion? Second still stands with those. So any more discussion? Everybody happy? Then something's wrong. So half has gotta be mad and half has gotta be happy.
Give it a move on, there'll be something else we have to deal with, okay?
There it is. Call for the vote, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? There's the full thing, it's going. Okay, so the motion was to recommend 825 to the council. Okay, now I gotta draw.
Good job, Brent, thanks for your effort.
You're welcome.
Should it go to Karen?
Yeah, matter of fact, that's probably what it should do. And then,
And then can we get copies of it with the changes?
will you make those changes and email that out?
If we read it and have some heartburn without the changes.
And then, so we'll need a letter with that for a recommendation to the council to adopt 825.
Do we have to,
I'll figure it out.
When are you gonna send that to the
8:20
council?
Okay,
It will be on their, I'll send it to the council in their next meeting.
okay, so what about numbering that thing? Because 825 is actually home occupations.
Well, we'll let Lynn do that,
Okay,
because she'll know which number she wants on it.
so should we call this 825 or should we call this
Yep.
8-home base business?
And maybe 825A.
There you go.
So
Because
it
we passed that home occupations one.
Yeah, we sent that on, but it hasn't been passed.
Okay,
It just
but it
stopped.
went as 825.
It did, and that's what we said, if this doesn't pass, then we need to revisit that old one, that's why it hasn't been
So
adopted yet.
825A.
A, or whatever she calls it. And because I think that way there it still falls under, there was some talk with the attorneys on whether that we had to go a different route altogether, with new code altogether, and, or if it falls underneath, from time to time will be updated
Okay.
from the state, so I think we'll just let her put the number on it that makes sense to her where she wants it.
Do we suggest 825A?
Or at least send it in,
You can put that on the thing,
yeah.
on the top of there. at the
So
end.
that it doesn't get confused, that this is, we're replacing 825,
Okay,
because we're not.
so you just want an 825 age? Okay. And they've all been on board, so I think they'll know. The next council won't go. Okay. Moving right along. Now, do you want to jump back up to the zone change? That's what some of the folks are here for?
Sure.
Okay?
Need a motion for that?
No.
Okay.
We reserve the right to do it now. Okay, so item number 2 is the McAllister zone change on Highway 40. Did everybody get a chance to review those documents that I gave you in the last meeting regarding? Everybody familiar with where this is?
No, I wasn't here for the last meeting.
It's
Okay.
the Quonset hut. The,
I know that much,
So you know where that is.
yeah.
Okay. Are we ready? We did have a motion that failed for lack of a second. Turn it down last time. Has there been anything else brought to light that we need to review? Is there any questions for me? Can I help you guys make
I'd
your
like to
decision?
make a motion that we continue this.
Motion to continue? Okay, I have a motion to continue. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Continue it to when? Next agenda or later on in the meeting?
Next agenda.
Next agenda? Okay. Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Yeah, if I may. Mark, are you willing to discuss what UDOT might be proposing here, or is that a little bit too private right now for any discussion?
We don't have any clear answers, that's why we are not sure what we want to do.
Okay.
That's why
the end
we,
of my discussion.
we didn't care, because we'd like to be sure that we have clear and concise answers to what can and can't be done, and should or shouldn't be done.
If this is turned down and you cannot make it commercial, what do you intend to do then?
Well, it's on the continued use right now.
We'll just continue our
Continue doing
use.
what you're doing?
Yep.
Our hopes, I know you weren't here. Mark's been an owner operator all his life. It's getting very hard on his back to be in a truck for a long, long time. So we bought the property knowing we'd have trucks there. However, he would like to do just a few repairs on the side of outside vehicles. Because he would be the main shop guy, and we're not a big enough company for him to be in the shop all the time. So therefore, we thought commercial would work best for our needs there. But it's not an absolute that we have to do that. And we're looking at what UDOT requires, so we're not sure that's where we want to go. But if we were to, that's what we were looking at. Does that help at all?
I'm
Free
sitting
not
on
being
the
here
fence
before.
with this, because when we became a town, we designated certain areas to be commercial. And we look at those areas now and how they would impact the residential area around them. And so I'm kind of up in the air about this right now,
And the
as to
only
how to
reason
do this.
we're going commercial other than continued, it's not so we can have more impact or have more trucks. It is just for that outside component, which would be.
What is likely
I don't
to-
see us bringing in 3 or 4 trucks a day. It'd be one
What
or
is
2
likely
trucks
to
a
be the
week.
case if you do get it changed to commercial? Is UDOT going to close down your entrances? Are they going to expand them? Or what do you expect UDOT to do? I know you don't have the answers directly, just a wild guess. What do you think UDOT?
It's all hearsay, and I don't want to comment on it
Okay.
until I know for sure.
You have one entrance into that property right now off the highway.
Highway 40.
Let me
And
just
my
ask,
understanding was that UDOT stopped any more entrances onto the highway a while back. I would not allow any more entrances, except what was existing. Is that still the state? Have they changed that?
I have no
You
idea.
can buy access to the highway.
You can buy
It's
access
limited
now.
access, it's not forbidden. So you can buy access to the highway.
my actual question is, no, that's fine. If you do take it commercial, is there an adverse side of taking it commercial as far as from UDOT? Is it something that would be a negative thing if you go commercial, where right now UDOT will play ball with you, and if you go commercial, then it's a whole different,
That's what we're researching.
okay.
We don't know.
Because if that's the case, and you look at it and say, well, gosh, if we go commercial, and we lose this, and we lose this, and we lose this, and oh gosh, that's not a good thing to do, we'll just stay the way it is, well then, there's kind of the answer right there. On the other hand, if you look at it and say, well, if we go commercial, we don't stand to lose anything. Well, that's a different ballgame as well, but I don't believe, and I'm not speaking for everyone, but it's my belief, I don't believe that the planning commission or the town council really wants to impact anybody in the town in a negative way. I think we all want, as neighbors, to get along and to help everybody have the maximum use of their rights. Having said that, it can't be that one group of people has rights to the exclusion of everybody else. And I think we've tried really hard, especially through this home occupation thing, to be that way. I would like to see everybody here in this room get what they're after to the extent that we're able to, and that's both business people and residential people as well.
That's what we're after as well.
Okay, Stephanie, you had a comment?
I don't want to contradict you, but Austin Tripp said that there would be no more accesses off that highway.
Okay, well,
And they have a 20-foot.
yeah, we just signed a Highway 40 agreement, and there will be additional accesses, and light semi-4s have been identified where they'll be on that corridor, where the intersections will come into there. And so the applications we've had before is they've merged those. So Peterson and the Davises have merged the entrance.
Right.
And so they're making less entrances, but there are accesses there, and it's limited access, and you can purchase access to the highway.
Okay, well, that's not what he told me. He told me that 40-foot was going to be max that he would let anybody have, because I asked him about a 60-foot access that I had heard about somewhere else, and he said no.
Yeah, if you get bored and want to stay up all night, Route 162 goes through all the limited access. It's UDOT. It's R162, and it's 340 pages long, and it'll tell you how wide each one is for a farm, for the different uses and how wide they are and how close they are in the spacing. It's a lot. It took me a while to get through it, but that was part of the agreement we just signed, and so I started going through that. They pulled it from that agreement because they didn't want to deal with all the issues that I brought up on that. Just because they just made the rule, and so what's in there, they expected us to follow, and they want the county to sign it, everybody, and nobody had read it. So I just kept saying, who's read it? And nobody. I'm like, well, what are we doing?
So how many accesses are they putting out on there?
There will be the light, is that what you're talking about, or?
All along the highway, because he told me no more.
Future signalized intersections will be, we've identified Center Creek Road, Mill Road, mile post marker 20, there's no roads there, but that's been identified as one, and Little Sweden Road.
So they'll put traffic
Lights
lights
at all of
on
those.
Highway 40 for that.
Yes, those places will, when they become warranted, that's where those have been identified, and that's where UDOT will push those lights to. And so, as a result, Independence is on this side, we're on this side, everybody's got to get to those intersections because they don't want a bunch of in and out. And so that's why we identified those intersections as the major future signalized intersections.
And not down to East Airport Road?
East Airport is part of the Heber end. So Mill Road, Center Creek, East Airport Road, and there's one more down there, all in Heber City. So the one on Mill Road actually does a loop out through that new development, so that's all in Heber City. So we won't be a part of that. They asked us what we thought, and I'm like, well, we backed Heber City in their design of the highway. So it actually shows it going across and right up against the Forest Service on Center Creek 1, that they have some issues they'll have to overcome. There's a billboard on one side and the Forest Service on the other side. And they're only allowing 15-degree skew on that. So that they have some obstacles they have to get over before they do that. But Heber City has annexed that whole intersection of all Heber City. So. And it'll be the same with Mill Road, the way that they have that design swinging out. It'll go through that new development, which is interesting because they just approved 44